Hello, folks. Welcome back to Rugby Ascendant. This is Chris in Central Pennsylvania with my Rugby United jersey, the one that really shimmers. Check that out. It's from last season, I think it is, or the year before. I've got a lot of these Rugby United New York jerseys because there were no teams this side. There was no Atlanta back in the day. There was no New England, no Old Glory, DC. All it was Rooney. And everything else was in Texas or west of the Mississippi. So I had to pick a team, and I went with Rugby United New York, kind of supported them. And ironically, we'll talk about that in a second, but let me welcome my co-host for tonight. It's Jeremy York from Impact Media down Georgia way. The Devil went down to Georgia, and they beat Rugby ATL.
Yeah, they absolutely did. And I don't know if they brought this heat wave with them, but they could take it back.
So I just say it's still a little hot down there in Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, man, I'll tell you, I could do without that heat. We had some absolutely gorgeous weather up here earlier last week. It was lovely, or over the weekend, I should say. It was in the 50s and 60s. Beautiful weather for mid to late June. But then it climbed back up in the 80s. I'm like, okay, no. I think Atlanta dialed up the wrong number here. This is supposed to be down south. But anyway, so let's get to what we're here for, folks. A preview for the Major League Rugby Championship game, the fourth championship in the fifth season of Major League Rugby. Of course, one season was stopped after 5 games owing to the pandemic. But before we get to this final game, Jeremy, let's talk about last weekend. First off, much to my surprise, Houston wasn't really in the game at Houston. Boy, Seattle cleaned their clock.
Yeah, they absolutely did. It's this thing in sports. It's always this debate. Would you rather have the extra time to rest up people and to really prepare, or would you rather kind of play on short rest? And a lot of times the short rest ends up winning the following game.
Well, and in this case, I have a hard time disagreeing with you because Seattle was riding a wave. It's like they're off the coast of Southern California. Or Hawaii caught themselves a nice curl, and they just rode that wave in. And you know what? I think Seattle's still riding a wave. I mean, they have to come from Houston up to New Jersey to play here in Harrison, New Jersey, right next to Newark at Red Bull Arena. We'll talk about that as well. But if Rugby United New York plays like they did last week against Seattle will win their third title.
Oh yeah, it unfortunately would be over at halftime more than likely because Rooney, as we'll talk about here in a minute, they're going to have to put it together a lot quicker than they did against the Free Jacks. And right now, I don't know if the Giltinis or the Gilgronis could stop what Seattle's doing right now.
Yeah, I don't want to say I'm stunned. I'm not stunned. I'm a little surprised. I expected them to play hard and to do well, but honestly, I expected a little bit more out of Houston last week. I'm not really sure what happened there, other than Seattle had an answer for them. I think that's the bottom line. They really had an answer. And we'll see what happens. But let's not take anything away from Rooney. It was a hard-fought game. It was kind of back and forth. But it was anybody's game until the last few minutes of the game when suddenly a yellow card was issued. And it wasn't the one that we all thought watching it on television. We thought it was going to be a yellow card against Rooney, and it was a yellow card against the Free Jacks on a play that I didn't even see. Did you see the yellow card incident? I didn't see it on camera.
No, I even went to YouTube and some other places trying to see if I could catch a different camera angle. Maybe a fan, caught it and put it on social media. Nobody seemed to see it. The one, right before we came on here, we talked about the one you're going to bring up about Waka, but I did not see what the other one was about.
Yeah, I know. And look, I mean, there's no claims of any malfeasance or anything wrong by the officials here. Just talking about, none of us saw it. The only people saw it were the officials on the field. And I think it was the side judge, they said, that actually made the call, which is fine. That's their role. But how about some TMO for the television audience there, folks? Television match official. How about letting us see the replay? We never saw it. So what we're talking about, folks, is that Rugby United New York drew a yellow card against a Free Jack player for apparently a shoulder charge, which we didn't see on the far side of the field. The official on the field, which was Federico Anselmi, one of my favorite officials from Major League Rugby. He's really good, although we all make mistakes, but he's really good. But he didn't see it apparently, and the play continued. And the Free Jacks were under pressure. They were in trouble. It was late in the game, and they were in danger of giving up a try to New York, which was stubborn and not taking the points on the penalty conversions. It just kept kicking for the corner, and it might have cost them the game. So they turned it over, and the Free Jacks get it, and there's a clearance kick and a charge up the field by Waka, who had a hell of a game for the Free Jacks. and he just gets clothesline. Now, that's what I saw. That was a clear shoulder charge. It was a red card in my book. And we're all thinking that's where the card's coming. Then they go back, and then the official says, no, there was a shoulder charge over here. That occurred before this. So that card, not this card. Now, World Rugby is going to have to take a look at this. I mean, you can't have a brawl and only one person gets this wasn't a brawl, but you can't have a brawl and only one person gets a card and thrown out of the game. You know, the first incident happened, then the second incident happened, and so on. If someone commits foul play after someone signaled a card, you shouldn't have a free pass. I mean, that was a dangerous hit. I would not be surprised to see Major League Rugby or World Rugby Union sanction the player who did that. That was a very lucky break for New York. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely the same thing. Kind of the way it was explained to me, not from a referee, because obviously I have no way to contact referees. I just want to put that out there. But that they go back to when the first foul occurred, and then that's considered kind of a game stoppage at that point. That the moment would have stopped right there. So that it's like the other one never happened, even though if you ask Waka, who may still be having issues speaking at this point. He took a straight shoulder, clavicle, somewhere in that general area, straight to the throat area, and he went down like a sack of potatoes real quickly. He did recover, but it seemed to stop every bit of momentum the Free Jacks had at that point, and then Rooney just kind of grounded one out. And once they went ahead, they caught the free run off to the top of the field, and it was over.
Yeah. No, the problem I have with this is that fair point. That's the rules. That's the laws of rugby, as they say in rugby vernacular, the laws. That is the law. The penalty is committed. You can't have a second penalty. But a card is not a penalty per se. It's a sanction. And you can't have players running around. I mean, let's put it in these terms. Let's say that card was missed, and then play continues and the whistle's blown. And so nothing's going on. And then a player comes over and just, after the play, 3 or 4 seconds, just charges down a player and knocks him down. So no harm, no foul. No, that's not acceptable. I mean, that's not good. So World Rugby needs to take a look at this and leave, in my view, the leeway for officials to issue more than one card if something like this happens. Because to me, I'm not saying that the player did it intentionally or it was malicious, but it's almost like, okay, it's a dead play. Oh, I'm going to make sure this guy doesn't hurt us the rest of the game. You just take a guy out because you're not going to get in trouble. You're going to get the ball back because there's already been a card called and a penalty against the other team. So it's not a good situation here. And we're not speaking ill of Major League Rugby or Rugby Union, but frankly, I think that all of us watching it on television or on our apps, watching it on television, we're a bit flabbergasted about that card not being called because we didn't see the initial contact and what happened on the other side of the pitch. And it wasn't like it was 2 or 3 seconds later. We're talking about 15, 20 seconds after that first card was called.
Yeah, it definitely was. It was long after apparently the first one had happened. And I do agree that, even if they say, okay, we're going to go back to where the original call was, but in the time between where the original call is and where we actually blew the whistle, if anything else happened, I think you should be able to just stack those up and say, okay, well, this is for that penalty. This is for that penalty. Here is your card for that egregious action. Because it's at the very least, it's an unnecessary high tackle. If not, almost, I'm not going to say he intended to do it, but it looked pretty on purpose to me.
Well, in fact, I think Nick Civetta was the trail player there, and in live action, it looked like Nick Civetta hit him just from the angle. And I know Nick Civetta. I'm like, he's not a dirty player. At least I haven't seen that. So when they showed the replay, it was clear that Nick Civetta didn't. He actually tried to avoid contact with him a little bit. It was another player who came over and hit him. But whatever the case is, as you said, it's like somebody pricked the balloon. And New England, which had been holding on, suddenly they were down a man, and it was it. That was the game for them, and that was their season. They couldn't recover from that. And to their credit, Rugby United New York won the game, and they go on to the championship. Now, Jeremy, I was torn. My plans were to go to the championship game if it was in Quincy, Massachusetts, or if it was in New York. It's actually a little bit closer for me. It's in Newark, so that saves me about 20 minutes, half hour driving. But they scheduled this game for noon. That's a problem for me because at 9 a.m. the Currie Cup final will be taking place, and the the Greek was from Kimberley, who have not been in a Currie Cup final since 1970, are in the final, and they're hosting it. Yeah, that's a long time. And they're playing the Pumas, another team that's underfunded and is kind of a regional team, both of them that don't get a lot of glory and attention. Both have managed to get into the final. They earned their way, although some of the big boys are complaining that the competition has lost its quality because the smaller teams have gotten to the final. I call that sour grapes, but whatever. I intend to broadcast and do live play-by-play commentary for that game. I can't do that at 9:00. The game will be over 11, get the man of the match, hop in my car for 3 hours to New Jersey, and the game starts in 30 minutes. It ain't going to work. So I've let discretion be the better part of valor. It's unfortunate because I would like to go down to Red Bull. It's a decent little arena up there. I saw the USA play Ireland there a couple of years ago. We got trounced, but it was an interesting little arena. But that game will be played in Red Bull Arena. That was a bit of a surprise for me. I was scratching my head going, they aren't really going to have the Major League Championship game in like a little local soccer field in New Jersey, are they? Now, the Red Bull Arena is a soccer field, but it's multi-purpose and it's not a little arena. So that's a good sign. I was concerned because you remember Rugby Night New York has been playing in some oddball places like Coney Island and Minor League Baseball Park, one pitch in New Jersey, then another pitch in New Jersey, and then they played in St. John's. And so whatever Major League Rugby did, whether the commissioners secured this or who did it, I think it's brilliant for them to do it. And what about this, Jeremy? Last year, the final was in Los Angeles at the Coliseum, and they had like 8,000 people show up, which was pretty good. And then a huge television audience. This year, it's in New York, the two largest media markets in North America, New York and LA, back-to-back seasons for the championship final. You almost couldn't script this better for Major League Rugby.
Nope. Just like we drew it up, if we would go back to our notes and our preseason thing, even though we haven't talked about the other game, I mean, clearly, if it were up to us, as the geniuses we are, we would have clearly said that it was going to be New York getting to play in Red Bull Arena and hosting a team like Seattle. Because, I mean, we all saw that coming, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, hang on. Let me look. Here's my preseason picks. That's exactly what I picked. Exactly what I picked. No, actually, I did not pick Seattle because their season last year was kind of sad, and I didn't really see much change in the team. But then I don't see it close enough, and I don't see all their games. I actually did have either Rugby ATL or Rooney being in the final from the East. That was my projection, one of the two. And in the West, I kind of expected it was going to be LA again, or it might be Austin, just because I saw there was some improvement there. It turns out both Austin and LA were number one and two, although they weren't in the end because LA lost. They were number one, number three. But anyway, the point is that both were disqualified. So that kind of changed everything over there. But in the East, Rooney's in the finish. But no, Red Bull Arena, never in my wildest imagination. I think it's probably good for the game and good for the league. It's a decent arena. And I did look at ticket sales, and they're only selling from end to end, one portion of the seats. So if you do watch this game on TV, folks, you see a lot of empty seats. It's by design. They didn't intend to sell a lot of tickets for this. I don't know what the number is, but I'm going to guess they're probably selling 5,000 or 7,000 would be my expectation.
Yeah, probably something like that. And I mean, it could have been the commissioner. It could have been maybe Rooney reached out, or something. Maybe they have connections to the Red Bulls or something like that. Or I mean, maybe we give credit to maybe it was the area who said, "Hey, here's the chance to host a big event. This is a big time thing. Let's see if we can draw that audience to here, because maybe they don't use the arena during this time except for maybe practices or something."
No, it's a good point. It may have just been that actually Newark, New Jersey, well, Harrison's a suburb of Newark, but Newark, New Jersey, Newark are the ones that reached out. I'm not sure who did, but whoever did, it's a lot better than the venue that they would have been. So that's good news. I'm not sure how they're promoting the game, but if they're doing a good job promoting it, I'm not in the New York metro area, so I don't get the ads and the radio up there. But I think that they could sell this thing out if they do well. I mean, New York and New Yorkers love a champion. And right now they are champions. They're Eastern Conference champions. So they've got a championship under their belt, just like Rooney did, or just like ATL did last year. But now they have a chance to be the league champion. Here's the thing, we both seem to be leaning towards saying that, Seattle's on a heck of a run. It doesn't look like they run out of gas. If they win, Seattle had an atrocious season last year. We'll have, and the year before, they weren't doing very well when they started the previous season. They will have won 3 of the 4 shields awarded in 4 and 5 seasons. That'll be astounding. Of course, they won the first 2 seasons and they were the class of the league. They were really, really good. Although San Diego was good back then too. But this is fascinating for Seattle. It's one of the cities that has the best fan support for their club. They tend to sell out most, if not all of their games at home. I think the Starfire has like 5,000 seats or something like that. And they tend to sell it out. So that's good news. Rooney has had a harder time drawing fans to the seats. I've gone to many of their games, and it's a bit disappointing given that there's a city of 9 million right there. And we can only get 1,200, 1,500, 2,000 people to come to the game. There are plenty of rugby fans. I think maybe it's just marketing, and this game gives them a golden opportunity, I think, to market the sport. It's a championship game, and it's going to be played at Red Bull Arena, it's a first-class arena. It's not some little, pitch that somebody built in their backyard next to a cornfield. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe this is that opportunity. The argument there between Seattle and New York, I would say, is there are a lot more things going on in New York right now, sports-wise, besides rugby, where in Seattle right now, it's probably the Mariners, it's probably the Seattle Sounders, or the some of that stuff. But for the most part, there's a lot less going on, so it's a lot easier to sell out an arena. So I'll give New York the credit there that they're probably trying. It's kind of like Atlanta, that sometimes when you have 3 or 4 events at the same time, most people go to the bigger event.
Well, that's a fair point. Seattle, the Kraken, their hockey's done, and there's no NBA team there anymore because they moved to Oklahoma. And so, yeah, that's a fair point. But you mentioned the Sounders, that's the soccer team. So they're out there, but yeah, but I mean, as far as a broadcast and media, it's a golden opportunity. It's the 2 media capitals of the country, New York, LA, biggest media markets, great opportunity. And so we'll see what happens. Also, to the 2 biggest concentrations of population we have in the country are located. And it's not just New York. I mean, that whole corridor from Baltimore all the way up to Boston, there's a lot of people, and all of those people live within a couple hours of this game. So, I mean, people in Baltimore they can get to the game as quickly as I can, and people that live in Connecticut can get there as quickly as I can, as long as I don't run into a traffic jam, which is always a challenge in that part of the world. But okay, let's go ahead and move to predictions. And I was wrong on Houston. You were right on Seattle. That's a flip the script the previous week when I was right and you were wrong. so all right. This one here, what are you going with in the final? It's the Rugby United New York hosting Seattle Seawolves at the Red Bull Arena in Harrison, New Jersey. What's your pick? What say you?
Wow, yeah, it's always nice being able to hit both picks, because we both jumped on New York, didn't we, last week?
Yeah, I think we did. We did both say New York. Yeah, we did. We said that if New York played the way they did against Atlanta, they're going to win this game, and not as well as they did against Atlanta, but well enough. Because I remember I mentioned that that the Free Jacks finished 13-3, but they lost 2 of their last 3 games, and one of those games was a hard fought game against New York, and so we both went with New York last week. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, it's just based. If we just based it on last weekend's performances, hopefully Rooney puts together a little bit better, quicker plan, and not let the game kind of fall into place as they seem to try to do. It was like a boxing match where they spend the first 5 rounds trying to feel each other out instead of somebody throwing a punch. That's what it kind of felt like in the East. You flip over to Seattle, and I think part of why they're on such a roll, such a wave, whatever term we want to use, is because they like to spread the field out and attack the gaps. They spread you out, and when they catch you napping, they have the speed to just shoot the gaps. And once they're in the gap, that you just can't find them. They're so quick. They can score on you so fast. That's something Rooney's going to have to do, is kind of stop the gaps, maybe force them more to the outsides, maybe try to get some turnovers that way.
No, that's actually a very good point. Seattle was just explosive off the ball. If there was any space whatsoever. And here's the thing, in the games we saw against San Diego at home in Seattle in the elimination round, and then the game in Houston, both games, when Seattle works the ball out to the wings, there's 3 or 4 guys there that they have options to. A lot of teams, they work it from the middle and across and keep passing it. And then, the trailers aren't always there. But with Seattle, it's almost like they added 5 guys on the pitch that ran off from the backside. You didn't see enter the field. It's a really well done what they're doing here. And not only are they fast, but the support is there. When guys break away and then the defense recovers and manages to tackle them, they're not on the ground turning the ball over because there's no one to hand it to. They're typically usually falling down, and there's a guy and they just offload it. It's very exciting stuff. And we'll see if Seattle can pull it off. But right now, Yeah, Seattle's looking pretty tough. So what are you going with? You didn't give me a prediction.
No, I did not. I'm
not going to let you off the hook.
I'm pandering here. That's what I'm doing.
You're pandering or you're pondering?
Yeah, both.
Okay.
Wasting time is what I'm doing.
Okay. Well, I'll give you my prediction then while you think about it. All right. So obviously my heart is with Rooney. It's the first team I supported Major League. Well, not the first. I supported Seattle because then New York came. But I followed New York since the very beginning, even though I don't like New York City. Sorry, folks. I don't like it. Nice place to visit. It used to be under Giuliani. Not so nice now. But yeah, so my little politics creeps into the rugby discussion. Yeah. So I'm a fan of Rooney. I like Rooney. I like a lot of players. Dylan Foster, the Butcher's a great guy. Emery's a great guy. It's a lot of fun watching Andy Ellis at scrum half. But I can't go with my heart on this one. I'm going to root for Rooney, and I'll be biased during the game, but I'm really rooting for a well-played game and a decent score. Be nice to see it be like, 38-35 or something like that, or 31-28 would be even better. Something like that in a well-played game. But I'm going to go with momentum. Sometimes that's what it takes. And Seattle is on a roll. The only way they lose this game is if they have lost their mojo. And I don't think they lost the mojo. I'm saying Seattle by a converted try, 7 points.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the tale of two games. Like we said, if it's going to be the faster pace, if it's going to be what Seattle loves to do to spread it out, like we said, really attack on the sides, then Seattle might run away with it, because I don't know that Rooney can go step for step with them in that. And it's not saying Rooney's bad, because we all know they're not. They deserve to be exactly where they're at. They probably are one of the top teams in the East by far. I would say one of the top two, the way they're playing now. But if Rooney can kind of win early in the trenches and kind of slow the game down, then I think they really have a chance here. And as much as normally, just for the sake of the show, I love to be the contrarian and take the other side, I got to agree. I feel like Seattle is just going to hit you with not only one wave, maybe 3, 4, 5 waves, to where if Rooney can't keep up, like I said, I hope it doesn't get out of hand. I would love to see it real close, but if it gets up in the 30s, I feel like Seattle definitely has the advantage.
Absolutely. The thing about this is that the Seawolves have run away with this. I mean, they demolished San Diego in the second half and in what was a decent game in the first half, and ran away with it 43-19. Now that was at home, but they went to Houston in the 94-degree heat of the evening. The sun's still blazing. And they, Houston wasn't out of it. They weren't playing very well in the first half, but they weren't out of it. They wind up beating them 46-27. That's insane. They scored 89 points in those two games. And that's a lot of offense. So, yep, looks like we're picking Seattle to win this one. We're going to go with we'll take the good money, although we don't bet on the game. But anyway, you get the point. Anyway, Jeremy, it's still a big weekend for rugby, and then a lot more coming up here. I don't know if Impact Media is focusing on this, but the USA Eagles will be playing on the 2nd or 1st of July. They'll be playing the French Barbarians in a non-test match. It'll be a nice warm-up for them to see, because what matters is what comes after that in the succeeding 2 weeks, when they go to Chile, to Santiago. By the way, I did look at a ticket price for Santiago. It was affordable, but their Corona restrictions are annoying. So screw that. I briefly thought about flying, because I've never been to Chile. I thought about going to Santiago, Chile. It's a long trip just to cover this in person. It would have been really cool, but the Corona restrictions are just too frustrating. You got to jump through too many hoops. And anyway, so they'll go down there. Then they come up and they play in Glendale, I think is where the second game is. And it's just like the series against Canada and the one against Uruguay. They beat the Canadians on point differential, getting pummeled in Canada, but then making the difference up in Colorado. Then against Uruguay, they had a big lead and they squandered it, and they won in Colorado, but then they went to Montevideo and just got waxed. And so we find ourselves in a position now where the USA, for the first time ever, was the number 1 seed in the 2015 Rugby World Cup for the Americas. Now they might not even make it. They might not. Now, I think the odds are pretty good they will make it, but they've got to play Chile and they've got to win on aggregate points. So they could lose one game and then win on the total points aggregate. So my expectation is that it might be a close game in Santiago. But when you get to Colorado, they're going to cream them, and we're going to get the number 2 America's seed and get into the World Cup, which is next year in France. So we've got those coming up, and then the other international test series, all the big teams are playing. Of course, for me, my focus is on South Africa, who plays a 3-game series against Wales starting on July 2nd and continuing through July, and then they move into the Rugby Championship, which of course includes Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and Argentina. So, and there's also the other big one, which a lot of people will be paying attention to, is Ireland travels to New Zealand for a 3-game test series against the All Blacks. And the All Blacks have got their media working propaganda saying that Ireland has never won in New Zealand. They've never won in New Zealand. So they're trying to jinx them and psych them out. But Ireland played New Zealand quite well in Dublin, and they beat them. And then also we saw the French dramatically beat New Zealand. So we don't know what New Zealand side is going to show up, but lots of exciting rugby coming up in July, August, and lots to hang on to. And then I'll be traveling to South Africa in August. I'll be attending the Rugby Sevens World Cup at Cape Town in early September. And so that'll be the last event I go to before I head back to the States. So there you have it. I don't know if Impact Media follows that stuff, but there's some things to latch on to if you're interested.
Yeah, I watch it as a fan. I'm trying to expand our rugby stuff a little bit, but sometimes lack of personnel has a little bit to do with that. Depends on just where else we get sent. But yeah, I will. If at the very least it'll either be on the DVR for when I get back to watch it. But I especially when they showed the USA schedule during one of the games during the weekend, I made note of them. I told some other buddies that, hey, we're going to get together. We're going to watch these. These are going to be some of the best of the best. And I kind of explained to them the thing with Chile. It's like, hey, it's kind of like the way the soccer World Cup works. There's 2 games. We just have to outscore them in the combination of both games. And I feel pretty good about the USA's chances. And it is nice to be at the top. It'll be disappointing if we don't make it in, but I feel like we got a good shot.
No, I think we all things being equal, we should get that slot for the World Cup. It's just disappointing. Actually, to be honest, it is disappointing, but to be honest, looking at the pools, we might have got a better deal than Uruguay got. Now, listen, we can't take anything away from Uruguay. Uruguay earned their spot and they really brought it to the Eagles. That was a very disappointing performance when they went to Uruguay. But a lot of people were surprised by it. But I said, why are you surprised? I was in Japan. I think who did they beat Japan? They beat Samoa or Fiji. I think it was Fiji. They just shocked the world. It was a huge win for them. So World Rugby's put a lot of attention to Uruguay's rugby program along with their national union, and you can see it improving. So, yep, USA should beat Chile on aggregate score, and we should have that World Cup berth. Let's hope so, because I want to see some more great stuff from Gary Gold before his tenure is up as the USA coach. He's done some really good stuff with the team. He's got the best record ever for a head coach for USA, despite last season being terrible. But let's be fair, we're coming out of Corona, and when they went to Europe for the first test, they hadn't been together for even 10 days, and they went on the pitch. And so, but we'll see. Maybe good things will come out. We've certainly got the talent pool that's developing here, what with Major League Rugby being a feeder system of sorts in some respects for the national side. Anyway, there you have it. So both of us have picked Seattle. We'll see what happens. Jeremy, thanks a lot. It's always a pleasure, and let's stay in touch. By the way, I got to thank Jeremy for his help. He ensured that I got one of those really cool jerseys for the city jersey and the Catlanta hat. There it is right there. Yours looks stiffer than mine. Mine looks like it's kind of faded. What's the deal? Are they different ones, or? Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I went with the flat bill, and
okay.
Yeah, and
I've got the soft one. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that looks really stiff. That's the Catlanta cap. I've got one he made sure I got, plus the city jersey for Rugby ATL. I'll probably be wearing my city jersey for Rugby ATL during my color commentary and play-by-play broadcast for the Curry Cup final, because we had a little snafu, and I thought that Johan Mumsen had handed off a Greekwas jersey to Jeremy. It turns out he didn't. So when I have the bag, I'm like, this doesn't feel thick enough to have 2 rugby jerseys in it. And it didn't. But that's not Jeremy's fault. It's also not Johan's fault, because the intent was for me to go to Atlanta, but I never got down this year. So anyway, I'll be able to wear it once they're champions, and then I'll wear it all the time after it gets here. So anyway, Jeremy, thanks a lot. And stay cool with your Catlanta hat on there. You're a cool cat.
Oh yeah. These really are cool. And for people between that and when they see the city jersey that you got as well, pictures don't do it justice. Cameras don't do it justice. When you see it up close, these things are just awesome. Yeah,
they really are. They're really, really smart and well done and well designed. So, all right, that's it. Major League Rugby Championship game for the Shield, the 4th final this Saturday, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in Red Bull Arena in Harrison, New Jersey. And that will be on Fox Sports, the main Fox Sports, if you have that. And if you are outside the United States, go to the Rugby Network. All one word, the Rugby Network. You sign up for an account. It's absolutely free. Costs you nothing. They don't collect all this data on you. Just a little bit of, data for your profile, and you can have free access to all their stuff. And every game in Major League Rugby can be watched on there if you're outside the United States. Inside the US, when they have it on certain television contracts, that we get geo-locked for some of the games, but we still get most of the games. But outside the US, you get all the games. So if you're in South Africa, in Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, UK, wherever you're at, you can watch on the Rugby Network, watch this game, and it'll be at a decent hour because it'll be 6 p.m. in South Africa. It'll be 5 p.m. in the UK. So easy for folks to watch. Now, if you're in Australia, New Zealand, you're in the bottom of the world, the other end. So you got a little bit of struggle there. But anyway, that's it, folks. Take care. Thanks a lot for watching Jeremy and myself throughout the year, our occasional interviews after Rugby ATL games, and then these recent broadcasts where we do predictions and summaries. And we'll catch you next time on Rugby Ascendant. Cheers. Take care, Jeremy. Thanks a lot.